Welcome to the Momming Around podcast. This is a podcast made by a mom, that's me, for moms, that's you. Today with me here today, I have Danny and Maura's mom, Natalie. I
Hello.
almost called you Natalie Wust because that's who you will forever be in my head.
Yes.
So funny because I had Kelsey on a couple days ago and I called her Kelsey Plaska and I was like,
Did
that's
you
not
really?
your name. Sorry, so
No
sorry.
worries. No worries. Yeah, it's nice to meet you here. And obviously, I've known you for a very long time.
Yeah.
But thank you for having me join. I'm excited.
Yeah, thanks for being on. So Natalie has two children, twins.
hmm Yes.
And do you want to talk about just wait, like first of all, twins naturally no like fertility stuff.
Absolutely a surprise.
Okay, I want to hear about how you found out.
Yeah. So we went to the first appointment. This was in 2020. So I
Okay.
found out I was pregnant in September of 2020. I just started a new job.
Oh
And it
wow.
was, I didn't tell them because I didn't know myself, and I just accepted the offer. It was so exciting. And then I realized like something was a little off, and I took a test, and it was immediately that it came up as pregnant. I was like, there's no way. There's no way. Because it was just like too short of a window.
Okay.
So I was like, there's something that's odd, but I didn't think anything of it because this was my first, well, not my first, but my second attempt at pregnancy. And we went to the initial appointment. And at the time, the doctors were not allowing guests other than the
Mm-hmm.
first appointment. So the first
Uh-huh.
appointment, for some reason, we could go together. The
Okay.
any appointments beyond that, I was only allowed to go by myself. So we go. And she puts the ultrasound on, everything was fine. And then she just says, here's baby A. And I immediately got super confused because why would she be labeling them,
Yeah.
And then she just doesn't say anything else. And my husband just starts cracking up. So as soon as she moves the wand over and she says, and here's baby B, that's how I found out. It was just
Oh my God.
completely just a surprise. And she told me, what type of twins they were. We found out in that appointment that they were die twins. So they
What's
had
that
their
mean?
they had their own placentas and their own sacs. So complete, it's
Okay.
kind of like having two pregnancies at the same time.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Does
Yes.
that make it more high risk or less, or is it just kind of
Less, thankfully,
okay?
less. So I might butcher this, but the riskiest twins are mono. Don't ask me what the rest of the word is, but that means that they are sharing the same sac and the same placenta.
Okay.
So a lot of times what happens with those types of twins is one gets more nutrients than the other. And they're disproportionate in size. One might be like weeks behind, etc.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow.
The other type is mono-di, so they have the same placenta but two separate sacs. And then mine, which were di. And fraternal twins are usually di.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you got a boy and a girl.
A boy and a girl. I got my
Were
set.
you did you like have like a feeling like what they were going to be or no?
Honestly, I'm going to share this story because I haven't really told a lot of people, but so I did have a miscarriage in 2020, and I was 12 weeks along when I had it. We found out at the anatomy appointment, like the first real,
Mhm.
thorough appointment where they check all the vitals, like organs, all
Mhm.
that. So after I went through that miscarriage, I had a dream, and it was like that week. It was like the week that I was supposed to get the DNC. And I dreamt of like these two kids, and they were like older. They were like in the eighth, ninth grade, like maybe in high school even. I remember seeing like blonde hair, blue eyes on one of them, and a girl with like brown hair. I didn't know her eye color, but I remember talking to them and knowing that they were my kids.
Mhm.
And just like I think the dream might have been super normal, where I was like sending them off to school or something like that, like saying, "Here's your backpack, here's your lunchbox,"
Mhm.
and then the dream was over. I had no idea what that was about, but that was in 2020. So
I'm getting
then,
chills.
yeah, come to find out that I had a boy and a girl. There was like no way that was just a coincidence and just a
Yeah.
dream. So that's how
Yeah.
I had the feeling.
Yeah, that's crazy. I actually had a similar experience with Kala. Well, it wasn't a dream. It was a meditation and we had one embryo and I was in yoga and we were doing like the final shavasana
Yeah.
and all of a sudden like I had like this voice like more than like obviously like you have like your inner dialogue or whatever, but
Mhm.
it wasn't that. It was like a voice literally came to me and it was the weirdest thing. And it
Wow.
was like, "Hey, I'm Kala and like I'm ready to come." And I was like, went home and I was like, okay, I'm ready to do transfer. And Nick was like, okay. And that's,
That's
yeah,
amazing. Wow. Yeah, I believe in all of that, honestly.
yeah.
Having gone through it, and I don't chalk things up as just coincidence. Like even after the miscarriage, I had a dream, separate dream. This one might have been like right after I found out. I dreamt of like a little girl on stage, like at a recital.
Hmm.
And I have a feeling, I never found out, but I have a feeling that the pregnancy I lost was a girl.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's all connected.
Yeah.
And I was sent two. So, and
Yeah.
I the way I think about it is I lost one and I got two. So,
Yeah. Totally.
yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So you are 3 years into motherhood
Yes, I am.
and with twins, which I am in awe of you. Like, obviously, you
Oh,
didn't have a
thank you.
choice, but
Mhm.
it doesn't take away how difficult it is.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
and I like me and Nick talked about this extensively. I have an aunt who has twins,
Oh,
and
okay.
obviously twin cousins, and that was and they were her second.
Hmm.
But it's we always talk about how crazy it must be like in the early days, like with
Oh,
twins,
yeah.
and especially as like I mean, obviously, like you didn't go through it the first time without
Hmm.
twins, like two, so you only know two, but still, like
Right.
that doesn't take away how crazy it must
Yeah.
have been.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the hardest part of it was the inability to like uh take a break. I didn't have
Yeah,
My husband and I went all in, tag team the whole thing.
yeah,
And I like for that reason I mean if it wasn't for him, honestly, I don't think I would have been able to like mentally survive, let alone physically and emotionally. But yeah, I think that because of the fact that I had to we were I don't want to say deprived because I don't have any negativity, like
mhm,
negative feelings towards it.
yeah,
Like if I were to label it, like I feel like I was a little deprived of the experience that a singleton mom like
mhm,
had, where I can, go take a nap and my husband would take care of the baby while I go nap, or I
mhm,
need to go pump. Can you please, like feed the baby a bottle while I go pump for the next one? Like there
right,
was never that handoff, feeling that I can leave the house comfortably with my one kid and go
right,
to a store and not feel like unsafe. So those were the moments where I felt like really overwhelmed,
mhm,
from birth until, honestly, I still feel that way, but it's definitely different now that they're like slightly more self-sufficient for sure.
totally. That they can like walk to the car and like you don't have to like
Yes.
carry out their car seats and stuff.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. They were very heavy to carry too at
Yeah.
once. Yeah.
Was it harder or easier than you thought it was going to be?
Just raising two at the same time.
Yes, like
Yeah.
from day one.
I mean, I want to say it was harder, but then if I really try to make the comparison, I think that in a lot of aspects there are things that are easier because I do them both at the same time. I'm teaching them things at the same time, they're learning things at the same time.
Yeah.
While they have different development tracks, like
Mhm,
I'm able to have that experience once and go through it one time.
mhm,
So whereas, mothers that have two or multiple children, they have to go through the same stages over and over again.
totally.
And sure, having that like knowledge going into the second is easy, makes things easier and like gives you something to expect. But I imagine it being like, okay, now I feel like I'm back at square one,
Yes,
starting
definitely,
from scratch. Yeah.
definitely. Do you think you want more or do you think you're done?
I personally think I'm done.
Mhm,
I think there's a lot of reasons that go into that decision, not just like I don't want to be pregnant again, but I feel like I'm finally finding myself.
mhm.
I, lost a bunch of weight. I am getting back into self-care, skincare, trying to avoid the wrinkles as much as I can. And, we're in our 30s. It's
Yeah,
coming, but, everybody has their own timelines and experiences. So
totally.
for me right now, I'm really content with like what I have and who I
Yep,
have in my life for sure.
absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
How was your birth with them? How was labor and delivery?
The labor and delivery part wasn't as bad as what led up to it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So I
Tell us
actually
about that.
didn't really labor. It was an emergency C-section
Okay.
that was, and I'll explain. So I had a high risk pregnancy from the get-go,
Mhm.
because of the fact that I
Right.
had twins. I was anemic, and then I want to say I hit, and because of my previous miscarriage, I was already labeled as high risk.
Mhm.
When I hit I want to say 23 weeks. Yeah. It was like 23 weeks. I started feeling like I was carrying bowling balls. It was so bad. I remember like cleaning my house and
Mhm.
feeling like, oh, they're coming. They're coming right
At
now.
23 weeks.
Yeah, I was like, oh
Wow.
no, this is not what I'm supposed to be feeling. It's super weird. I felt like like a lot of heaviness and pressure.
Uh-huh.
And I, at that point, was already seeing my high risk maternal fetal medicine doctor
Mhm.
in Clifton, like 3 times a week at that point. It was
Okay.
like already,
Yeah.
amped up weekly, appointments. And I get there for my typical scan, and the whole time they were, measuring the cervix just to make sure everything was okay. I guess it's standard for twin pregnancies. I'm not sure why.
Mhm.
Well, I guess this is why. So I get there, and I actually, I'll backtrack a bit, past the 24-week mark at that point.
Okay.
I felt the pressure at 23 weeks. 24 weeks, I passed into that trimester, and I was about to skip my appointment. I remember there was really bad weather, and I remember it being really slick roads, and thinking to myself, like, I just don't want to risk anything, so let me just
Mhm.
stay home. Something in me said, you have to just go. You only have
Mhm.
3 appointments, but just go. Like,
Mhm.
just go. So I went, and they checked everything. They checked my vitals. They did the service check, and they told me that I needed to immediately go to the hospital
Oh, wow.
because they were about to come out.
What?
Yeah, and the doctor said, because you are right at the cusp of viability
Yes.
outside of the womb,
Right.
we can still put a stitch in you, and get the cerclage is what it's called.
Okay.
And that's why you need to go immediately now. Because if you wait another day, the hospital won't allow it. And the babies will have to be in the NICU for months,
Wow.
if they make it that long. So it was terrifying, super
Yeah.
terrifying. I went, I got the procedure done. The procedure itself didn't hurt or anything. I was, under anesthesia. The recovery felt like really strange. But then a month, I was put on bed rest from that moment on.
Yes. Okay.
So I was spent about 10 weeks on bed rest. And the whole time, the
Just laying in
doctor,
bed.
yeah, laid in bed. And I was working from home at the time, thankfully. But it was tough. I couldn't even walk. Like, it hurt. It really
Okay.
honestly hurt to walk the 10 feet to like the bathroom. If I went downstairs, I stayed downstairs all day. I went up to bed. That's it.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was tough, and not just on me, on my husband, being kind of like the caretaker of everybody at that time. And
Totally.
um he definitely did a lot for me, so I obviously appreciate that. And then it was around March, so this is February that the cerclage happened.
Mhm.
Then March, around our anniversary, actually, I got so sick. I got something viral. I don't know what it was, but I
Mhm.
landed in the hospital again, and the doctors could not figure out what I had. I
Oh my gosh.
had like 105 fever.
Wow.
Like, I was shaking, I was like convulsing, I couldn't even stand up straight. I
Wow.
I was shaking so badly that when I stood up straight, I immediately like was forced to curl into myself, shaking. I couldn't do anything. And I remember telling my husband, like, you got to take me to the hospital right now. Like, it's
Yeah.
bad. I don't know what I have.
Yeah.
I thought it was food poisoning. The doctors did every single culture in under the sun, and they'd still, even after I got discharged, couldn't tell me.
Wow.
They couldn't tell me what it was, but thank God that the whatever virus infection, whatever I had,
Yeah.
didn't pass into the bloodstream and didn't
Uh-huh.
go into the amniotic fluid, because that would have
Okay.
been the
Yeah.
absolute worst. But yeah.
Yeah. What did they
So
do to treat you?
what's that?
What did they do to treat you?
So they did all the IVs,
Mhm.
magnesium
Mhm.
to stop, contractions, because I was
Mhm.
getting them.
Okay.
Iron infusions because I was also low on iron. It was just like a lot of maintenance, a lot of
Mhm.
IV fluid and getting me
Yeah.
hydrated,
Mhm.
and a lot of tests. And I think also antibiotics, and just the standard, like the
Mhm.
standard panel, because they had no clue what else to do.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So then the doctor said, thankfully this didn't pass into the amniotic fluid.
Mhm.
However, we are going to be lucky if they make it past 31 weeks in you, and be prepared for a very long NICU stay. This was again March, and they ended up staying put until 33 weeks, and I want to say 6 days,
Okay.
which ended up being one of my appointment days. So
Okay.
I went there. This is April 23rd. 2020. I went to the appointment as per usual. Everything seemed to be okay. I wasn't in any pain or anything like that.
Mhm.
But then when they did the ultrasound, the tech was like, I'll be right back. Let me go get the doctor.
Like, you
um,
definitely don't wanna hear that.
no, not at all, especially after all I'd already gone through. And at that point, I was in just like so much pain from just, I really had issues like with my hips, and like all of my bones felt like they were about to break every 2 seconds.
Mhm.
And the doctor comes into the room and he said, "Yeah, they're gonna be born." And I think what I remember him actually saying was, "I have good news and bad news." It's like, don't do that.
Yeah, for real.
Don't do that. Don't do that. And I was like, I guess tell me the bad news first. And he said, well, the bad news is that you're gonna have to get a C-section today. The good news is you're gonna be a mom. I was like, okay. I mean, the
Right.
fact that he didn't seem super, super concerned
Yeah,
made me feel better. But the
totally.
reason he told me that I had needed one was because my daughter had zero amniotic fluid left,
Oh, wow.
like just floating in nothing. I don't know how it worked, but she was
Yeah,
definitely, the levels were so critically low that she needed to come out.
yeah. Wow,
Yep.
that's
So,
crazy.
and then the C-section happened, as everything was fine after that, and they did end up in NICU, but that is like leading up to the long story to my birth story.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
long were they in the NICU?
12 days total.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Not bad at all. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then how was the actual C-section? It was just
Yeah. I mean, I got the spinal
mhm,
because I had to.
mhm,
And as soon as they put the cover up, and I couldn't feel a single thing beyond like my chest. Like
mhm.
everything else felt like I was a floating half a body. It was so, so strange, but it was super quick. They were born a minute apart. I think it was like 8 something p.m., 8 no, 8:19 p.m. and then 8:20. So the funny thing is that my daughter was always baby A the whole pregnancy,
Uh-huh.
and always assuming that baby A means baby A is going to come out first and baby B is going to come second. My son was laying right on top of her. So, being that it was a C-section, he was born first.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's funny.
And then the sad part was that I wasn't able to really hold them. My son needed a CPAP.
Okay.
He had issues breathing,
Mhm.
and my daughter, she was fine with the breathing, thankfully, but
Yeah.
just due to her size and
Mhm.
weight, they needed to just whisk them away, which they did. So
Yeah.
I didn't get to actually see them until 11 o'clock that night.
Oh, wow. How, big were they born?
They were 4 pounds 11 ounces and 12 ounces.
That's pretty big though
Pretty
for,
big, yeah,
like,
for that.
considering everything. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. 33 weeks and 6 days, right shy of 34 weeks. And
Yeah.
the whole time they were measuring much bigger, so I was fully expecting like full size babies.
Uh-huh.
But the
Uh-huh.
doctor's like, nope, four
Yeah,
pounds.
same. She was measuring so big my
Hmm.
entire pregnancy. I'm like, "I'm going to birth a bowling ball. This is gonna
Yes.
be great." And I was, like,
Yeah.
not looking forward to it, and I was like, "Do I even buy newborn clothes?" I'm like, "She's not gonna fit into them." And
Hmm.
then she was born, and she was actually in preemie clothes. Like, Nick and my mom had to go out
Yes.
and buy a couple preemie outfits. She was in preemie clothes for, like, a week or 2, but she did not fit in those newborn clothes right away.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They were in preemie for a long time in preemie diapers, and they're so tiny, so cute.
So tiny.
Yeah, and then they were in NICU for 12 days, and I stayed in the hospital after the C-section for, I want to say, 4 days. So a
Okay.
little extra. I think
Mhm.
3 days is the standard for
Mhm.
C-sections. I asked to stay a little longer
Mhm.
because the everything was already like there. They were there. They were in the NICU a couple floors down. I was still recovering. It was that part actually, which I obviously blocked from my memory because it
Yeah.
was traumatizing. My incision was really bad. Like the recovery from it,
Really?
yeah, there was definitely some nerve damage there.
Ooh,
So every time I felt, I couldn't get up, like I couldn't sit up out of bed, even though I was trying to gain the strength, and
right.
they said just keep walking, walk around the hospital as much as you
Mhm.
can, take the little, the IV bag with you and just walk. And I tried, but getting out of bed was so painful that I felt like my incision was reopening every time.
Ooh,
So that was a lot to handle. So the physical pain, the emotional pain of not having them in the hospital room with me,
totally.
the just trying to figure out how to pump and not having direction or anybody to help me.
Yeah.
And then like having to go see them, after we got out of the hospital and went home without them, we had to drive back and forth every day
Mhm.
until we figured out when they were going to come. And there
Yeah.
was no date that they could give us. It was more just like
Okay.
wait and see, wait and see.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Ugh, that's so frustrating.
Yes.
Did you have a lactation consultant come to the room or anything?
I did, but truthfully, it was not the best experience because they just threw a pump at me and said, "Here you go. Here is, I think it was one of those like yellow ones. I forgot the name, Medela.
Medela, yeah. Mhm.
The hospital grade, which is supposed to be like
Yeah.
diesel, like the best kind. And they just measured me real quick, eyeballed it, and were like, "You're a size 28 flange.
20.
Congratulations, 28,
28?
28."
Shut up. No.
I'm not kidding you. It was 28. And they're like,
But were
"We're
you actually that size?
no.
Okay, because I'm like, nobody is a
Nobody is a
28.
28." And I'll tell you that that's a whole, if you want to go into down that path, I have
Yes.
a lot of, yeah. Okay. So starting back to in the lactation, the consultant coming in, she measured me at a 28. I was, I was early. The babies were premature, so my milk hadn't come in yet.
Right.
So struggling and struggling to make colostrum and figure it out, and the pumping wasn't working, was slipping off. It was just like horrible, horrible, horrible. I did my best, and I eventually was able to make a tiny, tiny bit to supplement whatever they were already feeding them with formula.
Mhm.
And then when I got home, and I had my Spectra waiting for me from insurance,
Yep.
and the flanges that come with those are like 24, 26. I think
Yeah.
there's two sizes, or 24,
Yeah.
28. I think, I don't know, I don't remember.
Something like that. Yeah. They're bigger sizes
Yeah,
usually.
so I
Yeah.
used the smaller one, slightly better, but I was not making enough for like even a full day for one baby. So
Mhm.
like let alone two.
Yeah.
So that right there started me down the spiral, the rabbit hole, I definitely believe to this day that I had pretty severe postpartum anxiety because of it.
Uh-huh.
Um, because I researched the heck out of everything that had to do with pumping. I knew all about it. Like I researched how to size yourself, what type of flanges were the best, what type of devices were the best, handheld, like the portable ones. Like I bought all of it, and I spent so much money on things that weren't working, and inserts and resizing, and knowing thinking that I had like the elastic, I forgot what they were called, but yeah, everything under the sun I tried, and even with all of that I still felt like I wasn't making enough.
Mhm.
But yeah, my size ended up being 15.
Yeah, that makes sense.
15.
Yeah.
So it's horrible, and going back to like I in the hospital, I asked to figure out how to breastfeed. And I didn't really get the education that, I needed.
Mhm.
They didn't really give me the opportunity to try latching them. And when I did, they had already just eaten formula, or they weren't ready for their next meal, and like the timing was always off, and I was always waiting for the lactation consultant to come, and like that's it just really like started off on the wrong foot, I think.
Yeah.
um so they never figured out how to.
Yeah.
When I tried, when they were a little stronger, they kept saying that they're too small, they're too small, they're too premature, they don't know how, they don't have the strength. And I feel like that is true to an extent,
Mhm.
but babies are babies, and they naturally have that instinct to
Yeah.
to latch on. And then they got used to the formula, and that's what we kind of did from that point on. They were already used to bottles, so
Mhm.
we just kept it on the same schedule from there. But I still pumped, and I pumped for a whole year.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in my pumping journey right now. I
Yeah.
did it to myself though because I wasn't making enough, so I introduced
Hmm.
formula kind of early.
Yeah.
And then which is totally fine. She was doing bottles and she was doing breast. And then she started having like meltdowns and I was like it's cuz she's not getting enough milk.
Yeah.
From my last time that I ever breastfed, I breastfed her in the morning because I would always breastfeed her first thing in the morning. She was having like a meltdown. We went to the lactation consultant later that day. We just had like an appointment and I made like an ounce off of both breasts, like
Oh,
total.
yeah.
And she was already taking like 2 and a half, three
Mhm.
ounces, like something like that. And I was like, I'm done. I'm like, I
Mhm.
can't guess why she's crying. Like,
Yeah.
I need to take feeding her off the table. So
Yeah.
then I went to exclusively pumping, and that's where I've been. And then I've tried to latch her, like, once I got more secure with like her
Mhm.
health and she was growing, and I felt like, oh, she's like, okay. I tried to latch her again, and she won't latch.
Absolutely not. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I remember I think it was like they were 3 months at that point, already fully on bottles for every single
Yeah.
feeding. And I tried to latch, and I just remember getting bitten so hard
Oh
that
no.
I screamed, and my husband ran in the room, and he's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Like I am trying, and I forget it. I'm going back to just pumping. Forget this. I'm done."
Yeah.
And it really
Yeah.
was the last time
Yeah.
I attempted.
No, she like screams anytime I put her like even close to my boob, and I'm like, but why?
It's me. I'm your mom. Yeah. Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah, so yeah. But I just feel like your journey is your journey, and it just kind of works out the way it should kind of. I mean, she's still
Yeah.
getting a ton of breast milk, and your baby's still got a ton of breast milk. So
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I remember, after the journey was done, after I got a little more clear-headed about it, because when you're in the trenches, you're in the trenches.
totally.
You're sleep deprived, and you feel the mom guilt just inherently. Like
Yeah.
it's everybody feels it. Every single
Yeah.
mom that I've talked to feels the mom guilt in one, shape or form. And mine was in the form of like, are they getting enough milk? Are they
Yeah.
getting fed enough? Am I doing what I need to be doing? Am I lacking in any area? And after all of that was over and they went on whole milk fully and just eating more meals and solids, like I looked back and I was like, you know what, I did that. Like I pumped for 365 days straight, and
Totally.
every single one of those days had an overnight pump or two and many more in the
Oh,
beginning.
you did? You kept the overnight pumps? Oh, I never.
Yeah.
I like as soon as she started sleeping through the night, which was early, she stopped
Hmm.
now. But as soon as she started sleeping through the night, I was like, I'm done. And then she stopped sleeping through the night. I think I pumped like 2 nights, and then I was like, nope, still need my sleep.
Yeah, and I fought internally with myself for so long, especially when they were sleeping through the night, because they
Hmm.
started sleeping through the night when they were, I want to say, like 6 months.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, around the same age as Kala. And
Hmm.
I still, like, I didn't do the whole, like, 3 overnight pumps or, like, however long. I honestly forget, but I kept one. So
Okay.
I would pump, like, I think the last reasonable hour was like 8 to 10 p.m. I would do one. And then I would wake up one time at like 2 in the morning. And just like, that's where my obsession with TikTok grew, because like that's all I could do. I had my
Yeah.
headphones in, listen, like look at TikTok, just scrolling endlessly until the pump was over. And then that was the only pump I did overnight. And then I
Wow.
went to sleep. So I think I
Yeah.
had like a stretch of like 4 hours uninterrupted after that last pump,
Uh
which
huh.
is, still like not
Yeah.
enough sleep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have uninterrupted sleep. She wakes up like
Yeah,
I used to. She used to give me 7 hour stretches, and it was
really.
amazing. And now, no, she wakes up like every.
Yeah, yeah. And then it'll change. And I
Yeah.
remember going through like the regressions and like, having them sleep like angels 1 month and the next month, like, and with twins, like they're on a different like
Yeah. Yeah,
time.
because
Like, yeah.
their sleeping doesn't sync.
Nope. It did at first, and I think it had a lot to do with like the strict routine that we had with feeding, because
Mhm.
the NICU had a 3 hour on the dot. Every 3 hours, like they would get bottles, and they would get so accustomed to that their nap time synced because of it.
Oh, nice.
So we did luck out in that sense, because I've heard from other twin moms that one baby is sleeping, the other baby wakes up crying for food, and then they feed that baby, whether it's breastfeeding or bottle, and then they get burped, changed, put down, the other baby's awake, and it's a constant cycle. So thankfully our kids were on like straight 3 hour routine for months and months and months.
Yeah.
It's only until they started eating solids, they started having different bowel movements, your metabolism is
Yeah.
different, you're processing food different, that they started like, one isn't napping right now. So like my daughter, naps are gone.
Oh
My
gosh.
son still sleeps. Overnight, they wake up constantly, but they're not like upset. They just like wake up and they're like, "Oh, it's dark in here. I'm gonna stand up and sing to myself and then go back down." So
Yeah.
it definitely has eased up, but it changed so much throughout the last 3 years.
Yeah, for real.
Hmm.
That's crazy. I feel like Kala is going to be done with naps as soon as she can. She's trying to drop a nap already at 6 months.
Hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
she's at 3 naps, which is normal for her age, and she is trying so hard to drop that nap. We just wrestle for like 2 naps.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, "Ugh, get down." I mean, she get down in my arms because she won't
Yes.
do. It's contact naps basically only. Her morning nap she'll do in like the little snuggle me on my bed, but then I
Okay.
have if I want to do anything, I have to like build a pillow fort around her so she
Yeah.
doesn't roll off the bed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's she's giving me a run for my money with
Oh,
naps.
I get it. And have you tried naps with like a carrier, like throughout the house?
Like on me.
Mm-hmm.
So she likes to nap in that when we're out. So like if
Okay.
actually only on my husband really. She wants to like interact with me.
Aw.
But like we'll go for walks and she'll fall asleep in the carrier. There's something that happens when we like hit we're living in an apartment right now. When we
Mhm.
hit like the complex, like she knows.
That's
And
so
she's like,
funny.
"All right, I'm up." Like even if she's like
So
napping in
funny.
her car seat, like
Yeah.
as soon as we like come into the complex, she's like, "Okay, like it's time."
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like babies, they just know their surroundings based on smell and feel. Like
Mhm.
if the curve, like you curve around the same curve every time.
Mhm.
My kids still do that. They can't see outside, like when we're driving. Like
Yeah.
we have like tinted windows and like we have the screens up for like the sun. So sure they can see like to the side, but like they really don't know where we're going and where we're taking.
Right.
Every time we hit the turn to get home and go into the driveway, my son's like, "We're
Oh
so
my
like." I
god.
imagine that it's from like when they were much younger that they like knew where they were, especially
Yeah.
if it was like a constant routine that they had.
Yeah, totally. Yes. Yeah. We wrestled. Today she fell asleep in the car. She didn't wake up when I got to the complex. So I was like, do I sit in the car? Do I
Yeah.
try to carry her upstairs because we live on the third floor and I have to walk it up? And
Oh,
she's like I start walking those stairs and obviously she's awake because I'm
yeah.
like trying to get her up the stairs in the car seat. Yeah, so she woke up, but I did not sit in the car. I was contemplating, but I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
It's like, do I just go get a nice coffee and like sit
right.
here and like just scroll on my phone? Or
Yeah.
yeah, I know
Yeah.
the struggle.
I also can't go through drive-throughs with her.
Really?
Yeah, for some reason, every time like she'll be sleeping, passed out, and I'll be like, "Okay, I can go through the drive-through, why not?" Right? And we have a ton of drive-throughs here for whatever reason. Like every restaurant or coffee shop has a drive-through.
Really?
It's really nice in that sense. And I'll go through the drive-through and she'll be fine. And I'll order my stuff and she'll be fine. And then as soon as like I order my stuff and I pull up and there's a car behind me, she starts wailing
What?
every time.
That's
Every time.
really funny.
And then I get to the front. No, the other day I went to Starbucks and the lady at Starbucks like someone's not happy. I'm like, yeah, you think?
Thanks. Oh, I hate that. Yeah, like getting comments, like unsolicited the comments from strangers, like all the time. Like,
All
oh,
the time.
twins, like were they natural? Like, did you guys have like struggles? Like, can I, learn about your personal struggles? Like
Yeah.
that's how they come across. Like, I know
That's
that.
crazy that people ask that.
Yeah, strangers. Like, or my favorite, I mean, this one's not like personal or anything like that, but they're like, "Oh, are they, what do they ask?" Like they ask "Oh, are they identical?" I'm like, "No, I would hope not."
You're like, do they look
Like,
like two boys or two girls?
yeah, like my daughter has curly hair, like shoulder length, and my son has like cropped blonde hair, blue
Yeah.
eyes, and they are wearing pink and blue. Like there is like no way to confuse them for identical
Yeah.
twins.
That's
But people are people, and they'll always be
right.
weird.
I was at church the other day and literally Kala had on like a little dress and a big bow.
Hmm.
And she's like, she wouldn't like sit still. So we were in like the family room and she was like, where she can make noise. But there's this old lady there and she was getting mad that she was making noise. I'm like, literally, I'm in the room for that. But whatever. Not the point. I was like, okay, like let me stop bothering this old lady. So I walk her out and we're just kind of like walking around, like whatever. And this lady comes up to me and she's like, oh my God, so cute. Is it a girl? And I'm like, no, I dressed my son like this for church. Like,
Yeah, yeah, and like it makes you wonder, like, are they doing that because they don't want to offend, but then not thinking about what it sounds like? Like, I don't know. I'm not sure.
and like I feel like if I was maybe like in a different setting, like out in the
Yeah,
city or something, and someone said that, fine. But like I'm at church, like
yeah,
safe to assume that this is a girl.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
People are wild.
for a
So you
while.
pumped for 12 months.
I did, and I remember celebrating the moment I finished the last pump. It was awesome.
Did you feel like you started coming back to yourself after that? Because I feel like it's not gonna be my body until then.
No, 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 no. I still don't feel that way, to be
Yeah?
honest with you. Yeah, my boobs will no longer be the same.
Oh, no,
They
never.
are forever deflated balloons,
Mhm.
and yay for anybody listening. Now you know. Yeah, I feel like it completely changed, like,
Yeah.
me, and not just physical appearance too. Like, I feel different, like, hormonally. Like, I
Mhm.
feel like I have different things I never had, like aversions to certain foods, and like
Really?
digestion changes, and
Really?
yeah. And the craziest change, which has to be like pregnancy related, is I had like pin straight hair before pregnancy.
Mhm.
My hair was like, these are extensions, but it was like this, and it would dry like this, and even if I didn't blow dry it straight, like, it would
Yeah.
dry straight.
Yeah.
It was like that throughout my pregnancy and postpartum. Once I started losing my postpartum hair, I got curl patterns, and it was like
Really?
right underneath, like, my natural hair was
Uh-huh.
curly.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know what caused that at
Yeah.
all. I read,
Yeah.
like, random articles. I don't know if they're truthful or not, but, like, apparently you could inherit certain DNA from your husband
Oh, I've
through
seen
the
that.
pregnancy.
I have seen that.
Yeah, and my husband had curly hair when he was a kid, and my daughter has curly hair. And
Wow.
yeah, my curl pattern, like, my hair texture too, got super dry
Uh-huh.
and frizzy and curly.
Wow.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow, that's so strange.
Hmm.
I thought because I was like breastfeeding, pumping, whatever, that
Yes.
I was gonna like lose weight, right? Like I
Oh
was like,
yeah, me
this
too.
is great. I'm gonna lose weight.
Yeah.
Everything's great. And I did initially, because your uterus like contracts or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Yes.
initially, like I got back to my pre-pregnancy weight in like couple weeks, and I was like, nice, this is great.
Mhm.
And then my body was like, nope, we're gonna hold on to literally everything you eat. So I'm eating really well. I'm going for walks. I haven't been hardcore working out, but I don't think that's appropriate like at this stage.
Yeah.
But I've been like being really healthy. Like I'm not like binge eating or anything like that. And I was a really big binge eater like before pregnancy, but I
Mhm.
really haven't been at postpartum. And I am the heaviest I've ever been. Like, and I cannot lose a single pound. I can't.
Yeah.
I try and I can't.
Yeah, yeah, that happened to me too. I kept on the weight for so long. I want to say, like, the whole time I was pumping, and
Hmm.
then some. It wasn't until like last year. Well, I mean, a lot of it had to do with, you being in fight or flight mode,
Yeah.
survival mode. So the priorities are different. And and just like as a mom, typical moms with the mom guilt, like, you don't really put yourself first, like,
Hmm.
ever. You're always on the bottom of the priority list.
Hmm.
So it really wasn't until, like, I forced myself to make the change and to, like, put myself first and start up, like, things I used to love to do, and that being like fitness and, a healthier lifestyle, that it ended up changing. But that was not until like 2 years postpartum,
Wow.
for me at least.
I was pretty good about going back. I had really bad postpartum anxiety. And so I
Mhm.
was pretty good. I went back at 6 weeks. I started doing hot yoga. And so I would go to like a class a week because it gave me anxiety to leave her that early.
Yeah.
And the class that I liked the class that I actually liked closed. That was really close by. And then the one that I ended up liking was like 45 minutes away. So it was like kind of a whole thing.
Yeah.
So I would go like once a week, and then we went back to New Jersey. I went for a month, and we came back, and I joined like this place for 15 days, and I was during her like quote unquote sleep regression, just like her random night
Hmm.
of not sleep. And when she doesn't sleep, I can't work out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it was like kind of so that's why I started walking because I was like, I can't rely on like my nighttime workouts. So like
Mhm.
let's go like go for a walk and I'll just like go for tag on for a walk with him.
Yeah.
And so then we all just kind of go together. That's where she falls asleep in like the carrier and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like it's a lot because you don't know what your night's gonna look like. And then like
Oh no.
if I worked out in the morning, I think I'd be okay because it's just like the first thing that you do. But I don't like leaving her in the morning. Like something happens in my brain where I'm like, I left her like first thing in the morning, and I just
Mhm.
don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine leaving her at night. But if I don't sleep at night, that's not an option to work
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. I feel like the inability to predict, their routines and what they're going to do, like, sabotages your plans all the time. And
Totally.
Yeah, and that's what happened constantly. I kept, it wasn't excuses. It just
Right.
truly wasn't like it didn't fit my day.
Right.
And because of that, you spiral a little bit. You're like, oh, like I'm not working out, so I'm not gonna like, make the best food choices. And then it just jumps, it just like piles
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And it's not until you really like take a step back and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
That some one thing I can handle at a time, and then it'll
Right.
build up into a habit and a routine. And that's what happened to me.
Right. Yeah. In January, I was like, all right, my husband was doing 75 hard. So I was like, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I've done it before. I didn't finish it, but I got to like 55 days and then I
Oh,
forgot to
that's
take a
awesome.
picture. Yeah. And then I
Oh,
forgot
yeah.
to take a picture and I was like, damn it. And then we were in New Orleans that weekend. So I was like, well, I'll figure it out after. But anyway, so I was like, okay, I could do this totally. And then I was actually at Megan's house and I was like trying to do everything and pump. And George is like, Liz, this is a little bit too much for you. Like, I don't think this is the right time to be doing this. And I'm like, I was literally like, you're right. I can't handle all of this.
Yeah.
So I stopped. But I feel like I've been making healthier like food choices since then because
Hmm.
of that. I said that as I like posted a Nutella reel the other day, but I swear I
Ooh,
don't
yeah.
eat a ton of it.
Yeah. I mean,
um,
it's
it's
good to indulge sometimes.
yes. Well, I also like for some reason, like I still have cravings. So like chocolate is my
Oh,
like
yeah.
number one craving.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I
Cravings
don't
are
need a ton of
real.
it, but I just want chocolate all the time.
Yeah. I hear you. My cravings were so actually that reminds me. I had like weird craving like two types. I had two cravings. That's it. Ice cream or unripe mangoes with salt and lemon, like
Ooh.
green mangoes, like the little ones.
Uh-huh.
They were like part nostalgia because like growing up in Guatemala, we used to have mango trees, and when they weren't ready yet, we would still eat them with salt and lemon,
Okay.
and that like sour, salty combination.
Uh-huh.
My mouth is watering just thinking about it. Um, but I was craving them so badly that like my mom had to go to like Perth Amboy or Elizabeth to go pick some up
Stop.
for me. And thank God she did that. Like I
Yeah.
am so grateful for that. But yeah, like she would buy them by like the bushel, and I just have like my husband would walk in and be like, "What are you doing? Why are they green? Like they're not gonna taste good." I'm like, "No, they're perfect." But then I had ice cream like almost every night.
Yeah.
So it was like I have a feeling that, and I think they say that like salty or sweet or salty is for like boy craving, like you're gonna have a
Okay.
boy, and
Mhm.
like if you're gonna have a girl, you want more sweets.
Uh-huh.
I think it's because I had one of each that I had both cravings.
That makes sense.
At least I like to think that.
Did you have cravings while you pumped too?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I had a whole snack, like, treasure chest next to me, just like in my nightstand. I definitely had more of a sweet craving when I was pumping, for
Yeah.
sure. Hmm.
Chocolate. That's all I want. That's really the only thing I crave now. During pregnancy, I was like salad. I wanted cold and crunchy things was like my
Hmm.
number one like craving. So like salad was like the best thing in the
Oh,
world. Which
chopped
I was like,
salad.
yeah, but I was like, what a boring pregnant person. Like I want salad. And then watermelon. Loved watermelon.
Yes.
I
Okay.
like and like I was so annoying about it too because I needed the texture, so it couldn't
Mhm.
be sitting in its own juice. So
Yep,
my
I get
husband
you.
would buy like a full watermelon and then cut up like just a little bit a night so that it wasn't like soggy.
So nice of him. Like, yeah, I get you. I get the
Yeah.
whole texture thing too. Like it's not just the flavor that you're craving. It's all
Right.
of it. All of it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then ice cream we did sometimes, but that was kind of like just an indulgence. It
Mhm.
wasn't like I need it. Chocolate right now though is like I need it. Like I need
Yeah.
a
I
piece
mean,
of chocolate.
I am fully of like the school of thought that your body craves what it needs.
Hmm.
And if chocolate is what it needs, it's gonna crave for it, and
Yeah.
you should have it.
Yeah.
So don't surprise
Totally.
yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been I also haven't been like overindulging, like I said. Like
Mhm.
I was very much, like I said, like an overeater, binge eater before. And I'm just not, I mean, I don't think you have time.
No, you don't.
When
Not
especially
at
because
all.
like I'm home alone with her all day. So
Hmm.
like when am I gonna binge eat? Like that's not
Right.
happening. Like in the
Right.
morning, I'll have a bar or Nick will make an egg. For lunch, like it's usually something like leftovers, or this week Nick made a salad. He makes this delicious quinoa salad.
Ooh.
And I was like, can you just like make a batch of it for the week?
Yeah.
So I've been having that all week. It's so easy and nice to just pull out of the fridge. And then for dinner we'll have like meat and a veggie. So like
Mhm.
I'm not usually if I eat like this, like in my normal life, I like lose weight effortlessly and I'm like,
Yeah, I know. It won't happen.
yeah. It's so sad. And I
I
have my
know.
sister's getting married in July.
Oh,
So
is
I'm
she
like,
really? Congrats.
yeah, thanks. So I'm
Aw.
like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
so huge for this wedding because I'm gonna be pumping. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
stopping. So
Yeah, I went to a wedding when the kids were 6 months, and I was like right in the middle of it, like in the middle of pumping. And I remember like I didn't have my portable pump that day because I didn't have one yet at the time. I
okay.
only had the Spectra that plugs into the wall,
Yeah.
and I remember timing it. And I told my friend in advance, I was like, listen, I'm going for the ceremony. I will be there for the dinner, but I have to leave early because if I don't, I will be in so much pain.
Yeah.
And I was like, they felt like rocks, like boulders. And I was like, I have
Yeah.
to go home. It hurt. So, yeah, like going to a wedding while pumping is definitely an experience.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because for her baptism, for Kala's baptism, and for my sister's bridal shower, I pumped. But I have a mom cozy like portable
Yeah,
pump.
yeah.
That thing is amazing. And her shower, actually, I had pumped before, but
Mhm.
then like while we were setting up, I had a pump again. And so like people were getting there, and I was pumping, and I literally had like the little because I had a dress on, so it was like in
Yeah.
here, and I had like the little piece that like goes like the battery pack like out
Yes.
and people are like, "Are you okay? Like, is something wrong with your heart?" And I'm like, "Nope, just pumping some milk for my baby." And then
That's so
even at
fun.
the church when she was getting baptized, I was like, the priest, I was like, "Oh, can I just like go put on my pump?" I'm like, "It's just gonna be real quick." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "I have to like pump milk for her, so I'm just gonna like step into the confessional and just like stick it on real quick." And he's like, "Oh, okay. We have a bathroom." And I'm like, "No, the confessional's right here. I'll just
Like,
stick it
no,
on."
don't send me to a public bathroom, like with all these parts that need to be sterilized and all that. Like, yeah, I that people just don't understand the
No,
struggles.
no.
And I forgot the brand name, but there was, I don't know if it was Spectra, I don't remember, but or LV, LV.
LV, yes, the
Yes.
portable one, yeah.
Yeah, so not the new LV Stride, the original LV. I had those, and like I went through so many different machines and like none of them worked for me. So I just got so frustrated and like spent a lot of money. But the LVs, when I first tried them out and like I first kind of figured out how it worked, it was so loud. Like you would hear like the pump, like this the
Oh
suction,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
you hear the trickle sound.
Oh really?
Yeah, like it would pump and pump and pump, and then it let down, pump, let down, and like it sounded like a waterfall, or like you turned a faucet on, to like there's no way you can be silent anywhere.
Oh my
So
gosh, that's so funny.
yeah,
My pump is really loud, and I just don't care. I just am
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I was talking to my friend earlier this week, and she was like, "You pump while you're out?" And I'm like, "Oh, all the time. What do you mean? While I'm
yeah.
driving, it's like my number one
Oh
time to
yeah,
pump
that's the best.
because it's so easy when I'm home with her all day. If I'm driving, like I don't have to hold her, like I can just drive, right? And
Yeah,
pump." And she's like, "But you don't get stage fright?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "When I pumped at school, like because she was a teacher with me, she was like, I would get stage fright and I wouldn't make as much milk." And I was like, now that you say that, yeah. And I'm
interesting.
like, I was what like the other day we went to church and I was pumping on the way to church. And I was like, wait, why am I making only this much when I was making like an ounce and a half when I usually make like 3 or 4 ounces like
Hmm.
at that pump. And I realized that it must have been stage fright.
Yeah, interesting. I didn't know about
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I remember the car once I got the portable things, and then I also ended up like hacking the Spectra, which is you get a battery pack that has the connections, and like you can make it portable. So
See,
while
mine
looking,
is doesn't have to be plugged into the wall.
the blue one,
Yeah, the blue.
yeah, in retrospect, I should have gotten the blue one. Definitely, for anybody listening, do not get the pink one. Like the pink one is definitely, I want to say like it might be a little stronger because you can plug it into a wall. But the blue one, like for your sanity and being able to move around from location to location and not be stuck in one spot, that is worth it alone. For
I
sure.
stopped. There was a girl in Target, and she was like looking at pumps. I think I was with Kala. I must have been because I was in Target by myself. And she was like, She scanned the pink one. I watched her scan the pink one. And I was like, hey, I was like, if you want the pink one, get the pink one. Just so you know, the pink one has to be plugged into the wall at all times. The blue one doesn't. Like you can kind of like carry it
Yeah.
around or you can like sit on your couch and like pump. And she was like, oh my God, thank you so much. And she like took the pink one off and scanned the blue one. And then her mom started following me and she's like, what about these bottles? What about these?
Aw, you probably were like a lifesaver. Like, yeah. When I was going down the rabbit hole of like what the best flanges were and all that, like I truly found the Pumpin' Pals brand.
Okay, I got those and I haven't tried them because it
Please
just
try
seems
them.
so intimidating to like
No.
get them on.
Yes, I
Okay.
am going to tell you 100%. It took a lot of trial and error. So once you get it though, it is the most comfortable experience of your
Really?
life. You don't
Oh,
feel it. You
I
do
need
not feel
to.
it.
Okay, okay. I'm trying it tonight.
Yeah. So like I think the most, I don't want to say common, but like the most common size is the pink one.
Okay.
The blue one is smaller than the pink one. It's yeah, it's extra small. And then the pink one is small. And then I think the green one maybe is like the medium.
Okay.
There's two sets. So you either get like the extra large set that comes with like starts off at medium, large, and extra large.
Hmm.
But the one that has like the more common sizes is the blue, pink, and I think it's green.
Yeah, it's
Um,
green. Yeah.
the
I thought
pink,
the
yeah,
green was hard for some
it
reason though.
is.
Okay, cool.
It
Okay.
is,
Okay.
yeah.
Ooh.
The blue and the pink are the silicone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to like, so you first bend them
Yeah.
and hold it in a bend. So like you
Uh-huh.
you bend around the flanges so that you see like the hole,
Uh-huh.
and then you have to position one at a time.
Yeah.
And like you put it on and then you let it go. And then in the act of letting it go, what you fold it back, it suctions.
But it's you have to do it while the pump is on.
Yes, while it's
And
on
then
bacon mode.
yes. And then do you need a pumping bra for that or no, it just stays on then?
No, it just stays on. Yeah, that was a
Mm.
lifesaver too because I could like just pump without a shirt on and like
Yeah.
be comfortable and they
Yeah.
would stay right on.
That's nice. I like
Mhm.
stopped, well, I didn't stop using my pumping bra because you basically have to, but I use my mom cozy like during the day pretty much because I
Mhm.
was like just feeling so like frumpy like wearing a pumping
Yeah.
bra all the time. So I use my mom, but the mom cozy that I have is hospital grade. Like I got the hospital grade one, so it
Ooh,
does
okay.
a really good job.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I think it's a newer one or like newer for when I had her because everything changes like I feel so fast.
Yes, I'm sure there's like 10,000 other like machines out there. I will say those Pump and Pals, like the pink and the blue ones, I bought like so many of them so that I wouldn't have to wash them every time.
Okay.
So I had like 8 sets, and that way I just clean them one time throughout the day
Yeah.
and then wash them again at night and then start over.
So I wasn't doing this. So I was doing this in the beginning, then I stopped because the lactation consultant told me not to do it, and now I'm doing it again because I don't care. I put it in a plastic bag and then I put it in the fridge, so I only
Yep.
clean it at the end of the night because I'm like,
Same for me. I did
yeah,
the whole like, I was paranoid at first, and then
yeah,
after they were already like putting things in their mouth and like
exactly,
chewing on like pacifiers that just fell on
yeah,
yeah, also, kind of reeled it back in and like was like, you know what? They're okay. That's if
exactly,
that's the worst thing that they're putting, near them, I'm happy.
totally, totally, yeah, no, exactly, because sure, everything goes in her
Hmm.
mouth. I'm like, okay. So
Hmm.
today I like turned around for a second and she was like petting the dog's tail, like right by the dog's butt.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I was like,
Yeah.
trying not to be like, I was like, okay, like they need to bond. Like, this is an okay thing. Like, she's not going to die. Like, it's okay. We can wash our hands after. She picked up her hand, and I don't know how she had a full hand of fur. And I'm like, she's going to put that right in her mouth and like choke on the fur.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was like, no. I like pulled her hand. I like ran over to the sink, like washed her hand because it wouldn't like come off because it was sticky. And
Yeah.
of course, she was like mortified because I like
Yes. Yeah.
freaked out.
Screaming, crying, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
Oh
like,
my
"You're just
gosh.
washing your hand, it's fine."
Yeah, and they will continue to do that and
Totally.
forever. And now my son is like understanding the concept of when something falls on the floor, it's yucky. And
Okay.
like I think it's just his personality too, because if anything gets on him, it could be a piece of lint, it could be a crumb. He'd be like, "It's dirty. It's dirty." And he
Oh,
just like holds it out as if like, it's attacking him and like he needs to, I need to clean it immediately. Like so that's I guess good. But
that's
my
so
daughter,
funny.
she still puts things in her mouth.
Yeah.
So I have
She
to be
doesn't care.
careful with like little pieces and like,
Well,
like
that's the
so
other thing. My
things.
headphones, like I feel like my AirPods I'll like leave and then I'm like, no, they have to go back in the case immediately because
Yeah,
one day she's gonna pick one up and put it in her mouth.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot.
A lot
It's a
of stuff
lot
to
to
think
think about.
about.
A lot to think about. We and we're in this apartment that we totally have outgrown. Like just she's still in the bedside bassinet and we're actually we're I'm looking at a place on Sunday to move to because we're like we can't
Yeah.
fit anymore.
Yeah.
Actually, not Sunday. I'm looking at a place tomorrow, and then I'm looking at another place on Sunday. And I'm like, if she starts crawling, like there's like nowhere to like just like put things and like get them out of the way
Yeah, it's
because we've
baby proof.
outgrown
Yeah.
this place. So it's like, what are we gonna do? Like, and also she's in
Mhm.
the bedside bassinet. I don't have a place for a crib. I'm in the guest room right now, and it's a guest room because obviously we live in Texas. So like when his parents come, they need a place to sleep. When my mom comes,
Yeah.
she needs a place to sleep. You know,
Yeah.
when we have visitors, they need a place to sleep. And she can't be in the bedside bassinet when she starts standing up. I'm like, you
Nope.
can't drop that thing. Like, she's gonna,
No.
like, that's dangerous. Like, we could be sleeping and she could be, like, trying to get out of it. I'm like, we need to move immediately. And Nick's like, oh, I didn't, like, he, like, I don't know if your husband's like this, but I feel
Yeah.
like this is the experience for everyone. Like, we research the shit out of
Oh
everything.
yeah, I knew where this was going. Yep.
And they're like, no, everything's fine. Like, it's no big deal. Like, what do you mean? And Nick's like, I thought she was gonna stay in the bassinet for like, you know, as long as we were in this apartment, which our lease is up, mind you, next April.
No.
She'll be 19 months. I'm
Yeah.
like,
No.
she can't be in the bassinet that long. She's like growing out of it now. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And when they and my kids grew out of the bassinet at 6 months.
Yeah. But because she's gonna start standing up. I mean, we take her to gymnastics. Like she does stand up, like assisted standing already.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when
Oh yeah.
she
Yes.
realizes that she can just grab onto the side and stand, like
Absolutely.
it's dangerous.
And yeah, like my the reason we moved my kids was because they were getting stuck. Like their big old heads were getting stuck in a weird position. Like I don't know how they got into it, but they would like you put them down on their back, like in parallel with the sides of the bassinet, like
Yeah,
anybody would. And then all of a sudden, I hear screaming and crying, and it's because they're like perpendicular with their head like just stuck. I don't know how they put themselves in that position. I have no idea. And they weren't even like rolling over on their stomach yet. They were just like getting stuck and like freaking out. I remember seeing like their face smushed up against the
the
mesh.
side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, so good.
And
So she probably would have done that, but we have one of the sides comes down, so it's like directly on the side of my bed.
got it.
Because she does like do these crazy movements, and I'm like, where
Yeah.
are you going? Like, what are
Yeah.
you doing?
Like trying to do like a backflip, but on the side. Like it was just crazy. So yeah, that's why we moved them. And then, then it was a matter of like watching them closely to see like when it's time to lower the mattress.
Yeah,
There's like three stages.
yeah,
And yeah.
yeah, exactly. Because once they realize that they can like stand, like that's it.
Mhm.
You have to lower it, or else it's really dangerous.
Yeah, yeah. And thankfully, like we discovered that they could stand like during the day and like it wasn't at night. And like I remember seeing that their bodies were like this much over like the actual top of the crib.
Yeah,
So
I
we
feel like
immediately moved it down.
yeah, I feel like as soon as we move, I'll drop it because even though she's not like doing it fully on her own or pulling herself up, it's
Hmm.
not far away. Like she would rather, I think she's gonna like walk before she crawls kind of thing because she would
Yeah.
rather stand over, like she'll do tummy time, no problem, but she doesn't really like scoot. Like she has no desire to like scoot around. Instead, like she wants to try to figure out how to stand up and
Yeah.
she's constantly like trying to stand. So I would
Well,
drop it
that's
right away.
yes, I would. But that's awesome that she's trying to do that at this age.
That's just, I mean, it's just her. Like she's been like
Hmm.
really,
Strong baby.
she's gonna be stubborn. Like she's been really stubborn from the beginning, which is totally fine. I like a stubborn, strong attitude
Yeah, like
kid.
determined.
Like I
Absolutely.
love that. Like
Yeah.
I love kids like that. So if she's
That's
like
my
that, I'm
daughter.
like, go for it.
You would love my daughter then
They're the
because
best personality. Like yes, it's the toughest to parent, but like
yes.
so fun.
Yeah, my daughter is the most stubborn baby. And she's firmly in her no phase. So everything I do and say, it's the wrong answer. I if I tell her like, oh, it's 10 more minutes because I like to give countdowns. I
Yeah,
like to give
totally.
them, preparation, like
Mhm.
10 minutes and we're going to change an activity. 10 minutes here, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever. So I'm like, all right, 10 more minutes and we're gonna go brush our teeth. Don't be rude, mama. She said, don't be rude, mama. And I don't know how she learned that. or where she got it from.
Oh my god, that's so good.
And then, so like, I know a lot of her vocabulary. Both of them come from like the TV shows they watch. So
Right,
like,
yeah.
they were on this binge for Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, like for like a year straight. That's
Mhm,
all they wanted to watch, Mickey
mhm.
Mouse Clubhouse, and we had all the episodes. They were on repeat, and all of a sudden, my daughter started speaking in like the transatlantic accent, like,
Uh-huh.
well, well, Mickey, I guess, like she would start speaking that
Oh
way.
my gosh.
And then I'd be like, go, we have to go to bed soon or whatever. She'd be like, don't worry, mama. Don't worry, mama. Or don't be rude. And
Oh my
it's so funny how, like, she's a sponge, but
god. Yeah,
she's very strong-willed, very stubborn, and chooses, like, she has selective hearing and memory and all of that. Like, she's her own, like, she's a firecracker,
I
honestly.
love that, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, I mean, meanwhile, my son is just super like go with the flow, like, super like mama's boy, wants to be on top of me all the time, and like I'm just
Yeah.
cherishing every single stage, every moment. Yeah.
Totally, which is like I struggle with this because it's like soaking it all in. These
Hmm.
moments go so fast. It's so easy to get like sad about it, like in the moment.
Yeah,
And you're like, then I'm not enjoying it if I'm like trying to soak it
absolutely.
in too much. Like,
Hmm. Yeah, I feel that way too, and even now, like I remember it happened today. My son, they're both super small still, like they don't reach my hips and my waist, and like my son is like putting his arms up, and he goes, "Hi, mama," and like he's looking up at me, and I'm like, I'm sad about it. And like I'm looking
uh-huh.
at him and I'm like, don't say that. Like, but then I'm thinking at the same moment, like, please keep talking to me this way, like as long as
Yeah,
possible.
I
But
know
it's so normal, I feel like, to just have a bittersweet like feeling towards every moment that passes, because it
everything.
is so constantly changing,
Yeah,
constantly.
yeah.
Ah,
He started like maybe a couple of weeks ago, like touching my face like all the time, and it's just
love
like the
it.
sweetest. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
the first
And
sign of affection.
yes, and she has, oh my gosh, has she laughed yet?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the
Wasn't
best
it the
sound in the world.
best?
Oh my gosh. And the thing is, like, I feel like she took a while. Like usually they laugh around like 3, 4 months.
Yeah.
And she didn't start like belly laughing until like almost 6.
Yeah.
Well, I
Okay.
guess she is almost 6. But like maybe like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And when she did, we were like, can
Yeah.
we make it happen again? And she's so like she knows that we love
Of
it. So
course.
she
Of course.
won't like she'll like hold it in. Like you'll tickle her and you can see she's like squiggling, but she doesn't want to give it to you, you know?
It's so funny. Oh my God. And I remember I caught Mara's laugh on camera
You
the first time.
did?
I did.
Ugh,
It's it was amazing. I started bawling, of course, like
yeah.
in the moment, because it was like the sweetest, longest laugh, and she was like staring in my eyes when she was laughing. Like I wasn't even
Oh,
tickling her or anything. I just had her in front of me. I was holding her on my lap. She looked up at me, and I was just smiling at her, and she started laughing.
oh
And it
my
was like such a
gosh.
sweet, sweet, sweet laugh. My God, just thinking about it.
So sweet.
Yeah, like I have like 10,000 photos and videos
Oh yeah.
on
Yeah.
my
And
camera.
I backed everything up on this like hard drive.
Hmm.
And it's like it's all on the hard drive, like you can delete it off your phone. I'm like, well, what if we lose it?
What if, right? I bought an iPhone with like 200 and something gigabytes for that purpose, so that I wouldn't have to delete a single photo.
Yeah, because it's like,
Mhm.
what if? And I wanna do, like, that chat books, like, thing just to have, like,
Yeah.
every month,
Yes.
but I haven't done it yet. I have to.
Yeah. Something I started, which I haven't, seen through yet, because that's very typical of me. I start something and I don't finish it. I created email addresses for both of them. So I'm going to start sending them little love notes and like emails and pictures and videos and like whatever I can send, and, so that when they turn 18, I'll give them the password and they get to see a whole like like time capsule of their lives.
I love that, I'm gonna steal
Mhm.
that, and you can
Yeah.
send, like, videos and
You
stuff
can
there
send
too.
videos. Yeah. So that'll, maybe make you feel a little better that it's in an additional place that it won't get deleted.
Totally, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do that too, that's a really good idea.
Yes. And another thing I'm planning, especially now that they're able to slightly hold a conversation every birthday, I'm going to sit them down. I saw this video and I'm stealing this idea. I'm going to sit them down and interview them like, and have them tell me their favorite color, their favorite song, their favorite letter, like silly. And then the
Yeah.
questions can be a little more serious as they get older, but then put them all together
Oh,
and
I
at the
love
very
that.
end. And I don't know when I'm going to stop it. If they're going to, when they tell me, no, mom, I don't want to,
Yeah,
then this is probably the year I'll stop. But I'm hoping it goes on for a while.
I know. I mean, maybe one of them will be like, "Oh, let's keep going. It's totally fine."
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Ugh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Kids. Well, we've been going almost an hour. We've been going over an hour.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add before we end the episode?
Just, for all the moms out there firmly in the newborn stage and struggling, like it honestly gets better. I know it's cliche to hear that and say that, but every single moment and every single stage is the best stage you'll ever experience. So just want to give everybody out there like encouragement to keep
Yeah.
going. And if in the moment you feel like, you're struggling with something, with pumping, with trying to figure out breastfeeding, with like crying and the sleeplessness and all of that, like that is the most temporary thing.
Yes.
It really is something that goes by in the blink of an eye. So that's what I do want to, like share with everybody that might be struggling.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming
Yeah, thank you for
on.
having me. It was nice to speak with you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah.
I'm glad we caught up a little bit. But
Yeah.
really, I'm honored that you asked me to be a part of this.
Totally, of course. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Thank you, Natalie, for coming on with us. If it's your first time here, welcome, like, and subscribe to get more episodes. And if you're a longtime follower, well, as long as we've been on, thank you for listening, and we will see you next Thursday.